my channel. As you can already see by the title, this is the first video of a new series beyond mental health. And this is a project I wanted to start for such a long time now, and I've been thinking about it, but I didn't know how and where to start. But I knew that people needed to hear my message. We live in a broken society that makes us think we are the broken and weird ones. And this is felt by the number of people who nowadays suffer from a so-called mental illness. And I recently wrote a text about it and I posted it on my social media. And I named it In Case You Might Have Forgotten, where I start talking about these things. And I saw that so many people appreciated the text and felt so identified with the message that I thought it's time to stop postponing. So, welcome to the first episode. I want to start this video and this series by giving you some statistics so we know exactly what are we talking about. And as you can see in the picture besides me, we live in a society where 1 in 5 adults suffer from a mental condition only in the United States. This means 47.6 million people in the US alone. Think about what are the numbers globally. If we read underneath, it says 1 in 6 people between the ages of 6 and 17 experience some form of mental instability each year. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among the people between the ages between 10 and 34. And is the fourth leading cause of death for people with ages between 35 and 54. And given that these numbers are so big, I think it's clear that somewhere there's a problem with the way our system works as a society. I keep talking about the subconscious mind and the dark side of our personality or shadow self, and how important are these two. And the truth is, they are the foundation of our mental health. Not only do they form who we are as an identity, but 95% of our thoughts, actions, and patterns come from the subconscious. And for those who have not seen those videos I'm talking about, I'm gonna mention that under the age of 7, we do not really have any self-awareness, and our brain operates from the theta brainwave frequencies, which are the same that we experience during meditation and deep trance states or hypnosis. During this time, our brain is like a sponge or like a tape and literally sucks and records any information around us. It doesn't matter if it's verbal or non-verbal communication. And this is a crucial period of our integration into society and have major effects on the way we're gonna interpret the world we live in. If during this fragile period we experience any sort of trauma, whether our parents argue a lot, whether it's verbal abuse, violence, or it can be trauma related to our safety and shelter. No matter what the situation is, this will leave a mark on our subconscious. And depending on how do we choose to cope and deal with this trauma, these things are eventually gonna turn out into our shadow self, which refers to the fact that they're experiences and feelings that we try to suppress and deny, and so they eventually get to a point where they're controlling us from the shadows. The same thing happens at school and in society. There's always a model to follow, as if we were each an exact copy of the other. And so it is seen as normal to have the same expectations from all of us. And it might sound like a cliche, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's gonna live its entire life thinking he's an idiot, and he's probably never gonna find out that he's an expert swimmer. And there's always gonna be a monkey that's gonna make fun of the little fish. we learn that we must suppress our emotions from such a young age that we end up completely losing touch with ourselves. We forget who we are because we get so used of masking the emotions and pretending that we are fine because that's what is expected of us. And there are so many traumas from which these so-called mental illnesses arise, but we never really get to deal with them because we are just called unstable and stuffed with pills. I truly believe that every single human being is a good soul. The experiences and actions taken through their lives are just a coping mechanism towards trauma. But unfortunately, we live in a society where we're taught to look down to the beggar on the street because he's dirty and homeless. And you might be probably thinking, why didn't he do anything to save himself and try to find a job? And this is how society conditioned you to think. But I wonder, what did he go through to end up in this situation? What about his family? Does he even have any? What traumas is he facing, or what's his perspective on life? And in fact, more than 250,000 or 45% of all homeless people in the US had a mental illness in 2015, according to the Brain and Behavior Foundation. Now the situation looks a little different, right? The way we are conditioned and trained to perceive these cases are through lack of understanding, judgment, and labeling, instead of really trying to understand what that soul went through. We are conditioned to isolate those people in mental institutions, prisons, and so on, instead of supporting them and helping them heal and integrate into the community. For example, modern mental health professionals are being trained to look at any mental illness as being due to a deficiency in a particular neurotransmitter in the brain. In other words, your brain is broken and they're just trying to figure out what is wrong with you. Therefore, they feed you pills that supposedly help you with this deficiency, as if you were just a bunch of organic mass and that's it. For example, depression is associated with insufficient levels of serotonin in the brain. Serotonin is associated with regulating the inner state of happiness and well-being. And so they give you a bunch of pills that supposedly help you with your serotonin levels, when in fact they do more harm than good. The list of side effects is huge, and the withdrawal effect when the treatment is stopped is actually worse than the condition itself. Basically, the way modern medicine works, and now I'm talking in general, is that doctors are just an intermediate through which the system is applied. It doesn't mean that doctors are bad people. There are doctors who put all their heart and soul into what they're doing. It's just that what these doctors know and practice is very carefully controlled from above. There's a board that dictates what and how should doctors practice, and so on until you eventually reach the top of the pyramid. Basically, you just have to follow where money comes from. And an example I can give you from my personal experience is fluoride. For those who don't know, I used to work in dentistry for almost 2 years as a dental assistant. And in school, the way I was trained, just as any other dental professional, is to recommend and promote the use of fluoride, because they said there are some vitamins and minerals that help your enamel stay strong and prevent cavities, which actually couldn't be further from the truth. Fluoride is extremely toxic to the human body, and its main purpose is the calcification of the pineal gland. And well, while I was recommending this substance, nobody ever asked me what was that substance actually made from, because we're conditioned to think that because it's a medical professional that recommends it, then that's the ultimate truth, which is not. And as I said, the human body is studied strictly from a scientific point of view. these studies being based only on physically provable data. It's just that, in fact, we are souls. We are multi-dimensional beings who operate on many more levels, not just physically. And if we take into consideration all the data that has emerged in the past few decades, we begin to realize that what mainstream science recognizes as our physical reality is nothing more than an illusion. 99.99% of everything that exists is actually energy. So I'm just wondering, how can they treat and heal humans physically if everything is actually energy? And of course, these things are not publicly recognized and applied. I mean, you can't take energy, put it in a pill, and sell it. So technically, a certain substance is created in a laboratory, helps you block the physical effects of the so-called problem, and the root cause remains intact during this whole process, because the main intention is to regulate neurotransmitters and stuff in your brain. So you actually have nothing to do with the root cause, and much less with healing. So in other words, they're trying to fix us by further blocking and inhibiting our emotions, by making us stop feeling them. Do you suffer from depression? Here, take this. It's gonna make you stop feeling the depression. But don't worry, it's never gonna go away. You're just not gonna feel it. With this series, I am trying to send an alarm message and to try to offer a different perspective. Because what we have been doing so far is clearly not working. We live in a broken society that manipulates us into thinking we are the broken ones. I cannot believe that suicide is the second leading cause of death. I mean, we need to wake up and try to do something different. I'm gonna stop here for now. If you like this video, you can help me by hitting like and subscribe to my channel. See you on the next time. Light and love.